Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for CSI featuring case file 412, and it's got a nice outdoorsy feel, and I've got a lovely photo there of my daughter, and I've put together a bit of a mini kit using vintage scrapbooking supplies. I find these challenges a fabulous way to stash bust, and that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I definitely want to use this ledger paper, and it's a basic grey paper from their basics range called Blue Line from 2009. I'm not a complete hoarder, but I do like to keep hold of things that I like the look of, and so I've had a good old route and I've put together literally a mini kit, and I should have everything I need to do this case file. So I don't know whether you've used CSI challenges before, but you normally get an image and some colours, and then you get a list of evidence and a testimony. So I'm definitely using most of the colours, not all of them, for this layout. And the evidence is what I'm using to guide me at the moment. And there's a long list, and I haven't used all of it, even though sometimes I see it as a challenge to use all of them. But there are a number of things there that you'll already notice that I'm using. So it says wood or wood grain, ledger pattern, animal. So they're already things that are appearing on the layout. So the paper I've got in the background there is another one of my vintage collection. And this time it is a Cosmo Cricket from 2009. I think it was the maple range, and that paper was called Nutmeg. It's got a really nice wood grain on it, and that'll be exactly why I kept hold of it. So let's see how this develops. So there's some pink paisley Auburn Lane on there, and the little fox is from Pink Fresh Studio, and I think that's from 2014 from the Marigold range. So I've got lots that I'm mixing together here. I think there's some My Mind's Eye as well, but I'm not too worried. I like to mix the colours and the collections together, so I'm going to just carry on. So one of the things on the evidence list is a grid composition, and because I already had this photo printed, I decided I'd go with a 4-square grid. And I bring in the list and I look at it and I give a mark off what I'm using, because I like to try and use as many things as I can. So I bring in these flowers from Sassafras and I put it on the layout. It doesn't make the final cut. I just feel it's a bit too bright orange for this. But as you can see, that's the sort of thing I keep hold of. So the card where it says happy is definitely Simple Stories, so another manufacturer. And I'm just now looking to embellish each of the squares. I decided to change out this bottom square. I thought the green was too bright, and I picked a fox card from the Pink Fresh Studio Marigold range. I decided to actually cut round the fox. I thought this one was a little nicer. I like the bigger head. Thought it went really well with my daughter absolutely covered in the hood of her coat in the photo at the top. So I've cut that out and I'm going to embellish that square further. I always find that some of the squares, or if I'm doing in clusters of embellishments, some seem to come together really well and some seem to take a lot of work. So the one on the top left, there's just some layered die cut pieces, plus the warm and cosy from Auburn Lane, and some leaves and an arrow, and I feel like that's perfect. Bottom right, I really like the sunburst. I've die cut that, and sunburst is on the list. Trees and leaves are on the list, and I've got a tree there, and I've got a little bit of felt there, and I'm going to edge the underside of that card with that, and that's a really nice colour to bring in that deep mustardy yellow. So I'm now making out of pattern paper a little file folder, or a bit like an envelopey thing to put some tags in, so I can put my journaling on them. And one of the things it mentions on the testimony of this challenge, it says, tuck your journaling in a pocket with a turned down corner, sort of like a sleeping bag. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and make this like a sleeping bag. So because this paper has a white background, I've added a little bit of alternative paper to the bit that I folded over. And I've already took 2 tags in there. One's made of wood. It's not a full tag, and that's just for decoration. But I'm going to put another tag on top of this one as well. And I will add my journaling to this afterwards, because it's photographs all about the school coat my daughter's wearing, and it was the trend at the time about how massive the hood was, and if she ever put it up when it rained, she couldn't absolutely see where she was going. So that will definitely be documented on this. So I'm just seeing what else needs to go on that corner. I've decided I'm actually going to move on, look at the others, put them all together. So I'm just distressing the edges of some pattern paper that goes behind my photograph there. I'm going to bring each square down in a moment in front of me and start to put them together. Using my vintage distress tool from Prima, I'm going to add the 2 journaling cards there, one on top of the other, and then add the title on top of that. So I really would recommend you checking out the CSI. So it's Colour Stories Inspiration Challenges. There's a Facebook group, there's a IG account, there's a lot of designers that create a layout a month, so loads and loads of inspiration for you. And it's a really good way to challenge yourself, do something different. I find that the layouts I make when I do these challenges, they take me out of my comfort zone, which is sometimes is just what you need in a hobby like scrapbooking. And it also, as you can see from this layout, makes your stash burst. You can use anything you like, but you're guided by the things. I mean, I'm not sure how often I would have put grids and wood grain and ledger paper with cross stitches and trees and a fox. Would I have added that fox to this layout without it saying animals? I'm not sure I would, but I absolutely love that fox now, and I can't imagine it on any other layout. So it's really good just to challenge yourself. Maybe try it with some friends or do it at your crop. But do check it out. And even better, Debbie, the lovely Debbie that runs this group, actually the prizes as well. So I really would recommend you check them out anyway. Have a go at them or just look at the inspiration. But yeah, it's there for you. And we do this just to share our love of this hobby. So I'm getting there now, sticking things down. I've got a little bit of foam pads behind a few things just to add a little bit of interest. I like to add a little bit of depth to my layout, so I just need to make sure I can get those both on that square. I want that fox to be peeking out behind that journaling, but I think it's all nearly getting there now. I'm going to end up with adding something to that one, and I bring in a punch. Goodness me, it's a Martha Stewart, and I can't tell you how long I've had it, but it cuts grass. How fab is that? I probably haven't used it in the last 3 years, but there we go, it's been used by the fox. And using a metal die, I cut a compass. That's something else on the list. It says, let me see where it says, binoculars, computer, compass or other technology, and I've added a flare badge in the centre of it. I've cut another tag there to go in that pocket for me to write on the back. So before I stick those squares down, for God forbid I'm going to actually rush and stick anything down too quickly, because that's not my style. I've taken the ledger paper to the sewing machine, ran round it with a nice ochre coloured thread a couple of times, and then I've distressed the edges and I've put it in the centre of the wood grain from Cosmo Cricket. So that's all now stuck down. So I need to have a look, just make sure they're reasonably central, and that's just bringing in that Tim Holtz ruler to do that. And I'm going to put some foam pads on the back of each square just to lift them up a little bit, and I'll get them into their final position. I have to say I really enjoyed making this layout. I do like a challenge at the best of times, but it was just seemed to be my colours, and I do like a grid, and it just, yeah, sometimes layouts do that, don't they? They all fall into place. I'm just adding a star there. Star and Moons is also on the list, and that's by Shenanigans, a little embellishment company that I run, and I'll add the details of that in the blurb below. Just going to add a couple of leaves on top of that yellow one. I want to add a little bit of green onto each of the squares, like there is a little bit of yellowy orange as well. So I could just it makes it a little bit more, is it cohesive? Is that the right word? I think it is. But anyway, you kind of know what I mean. And then I noticed that cross stitches was on the list. So I decided I was going to use a little bit of thread and attach the tree trunk to this card with a couple of cross stitches. As I say, would I have done that without this challenge? Probably not. And I think that gives you a lot more bits and pieces on this layout to look at that I've added. So there's the finished layout. Nice, lots of depth. Here's the full image and some close-ups. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you fancy, and do check out CSI on Facebook and IG. So thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.